Welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds. I'm Nerdicus Dave, and today I'm hanging out with Logan from Runesmith. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Amazing. You know, living the best apocalypse ever, and
Best
or
bunker life to have.
or worse. I haven't had to slay one zombie today. What's going on?
Yeah, it's getting quiet these days.
So, how are you making out during the apocalypse in your bunker?
Surprisingly busy. I've got a few things going on, and whenever there's a lull, I try and make something else happen, and then it just piles up. I'm staying busy.
So, do you find that are you still gaming during the apocalypse, or
A, a little bit, yeah. I'm kind of revisiting old favorites, just a lot of like RNG dungeons, like Enter the Gungeon or the old Binding of Isaac. Risk of Rain 2 is super fun. And I ordered a VR kit, the Steam or the Valve one, the Valve Index, and it says that the average wait time is about 8 weeks, and it says 6 weeks now. I've been waiting for 12 weeks and 3 days just to be able to pay for it. So once I get that in, then I'll be gaming.
then you'll be gaming. So no
Yeah,
D&D, no RPGs.
yeah. I'm gonna delete the channel when I get that.
It's done.
Yeah, I'm done.
Or it'll just change. One day they'll show up for a D&D video, and it'll just be you
And
VRing.
Beat Saber. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Even better, it'll just be filming you while you do it, not even seeing what you're
Not even
seeing.
this. That'd be great. Be bizarre.
It would be bizarre. Although video games have a much bigger niche than
They do. That's very true.
D&D YouTube is super specific.
I think that's why a lot of people are trying to meld tabletop RPG into digital games. We're
Yeah.
trying to keep it alive. It's pretty cool. A lot of the stuff that's come out recently.
So I mean, we play a lot of virtual games. We play online a lot, so it hasn't been too big of a deal. Like we
What
were
have you
only
been playing?
all RPGs. I do not video game. I find I kind of have a little bit of an addictive personality.
That's
So
fair.
if I start video gaming, like nothing else in my life will get done. So I'll just be like in my basement, and I'll turn into like the South Park episode when they're like
Oh.
grinding on rabbits.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Was your old poison, was it World of Warcraft or RuneScape?
they were
Something
playing,
else.
yeah, they were playing like a World of Warcraft. I actually, it's funny when I played World of Warcraft, it wasn't an MMO. It was
Oh.
a real time strategy game,
Hmm.
and and
Yeah,
StarCraft
Dota.
was the same way.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's interesting. How things have
Yeah,
changed so much. And then they're
that's
trying
how
to.
long ago I was playing videos. I dipped my toe into League of Legends for a little while, and
I did too.
I
It's
kind
like
of
a
liked it.
prison.
Yeah. Well, you know what I liked about it? It was like you could play a game in 45 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever and be done. Like
Yeah.
you did the game. There was nothing else to really do.
That's why I like Risk of Rain, because you're fighting a bunch of NPCs, but the time frame's different, so you don't have to get mad at your team or anything because
Yeah.
it's AI. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, you don't have to have like 50 12-year-olds do your mom because you played badly.
Yeah. Have everyone try and report you for having a bad day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My son still plays, but like, I like reinstalled it a while ago and played a game. It was so terrible. Like I was so
Yeah.
bad. I was like trying to report myself.
This guy can't play.
This guy can't play it. Oh, he's terrible. Yeah, so it's kind of weird. So I just stick to RPGs nowadays.
They're fun.
They are fun, and well, the other thing too is I'm kind of like at a point where it's like if I'm going to spend more than 2 hours doing things, even like tabletop games, like I've talked to
Yeah.
people, if I'm going to spend more than 2 hours doing something, I'd rather just be playing D&D or some other RPG.
Yeah.
So,
Something that kind of feels like you're continuing forward instead of just repeating the game.
so are you guys doing your in-person game online, or is that just on hiatus?
We're doing Arcane Arcade, Jacob's channel. I'm still playing the one character in the one game, Evenfall. I'm playing Stibbles from Stibbles Codex. And we do that just with webcams, and then we have Colton set up like all of our little cameras. He lines them up in the layout, and we play there. So we all play in the comfort of our own isolated quarantine homes
Yeah,
bi-weekly.
I've been doing quite a bit of that. So we've got like, so we used to play like three times a month in person, and we would just rotate GMs each week. And so we were in the process of setting that back up when the pandemic hit. So now we're kind of doing that. We're just doing it remotely.
Yeah, I think if this ever ends, that'll just be the norm anyway. Like no one's going to go back. It's your own house. You're more comfortable there. So
Although I mean, there's like both of them have pros and cons. So like,
that's very true.
Like going and showing up someplace to game is, it's a social experience. It's like, you're not drinking at the bar. You're not like watching football or something. This is the thing you do while you kind of hang out with your buds.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a very different feel. It's kind of nostalgic. You get to actually hang out. It is different.
Yeah, and it becomes a little bit less about the game. But when you game online, it's like more focused on the game. You get more of the game in. And
Yeah.
So, like they both have like their pros and cons. So what's new in your world? You have a couple projects that you're working on. You guys had a great Kickstarter, successful Kickstarter. For Stibbles. When are we going to see that hit?
That is actually being done written, and later today I'm going to run through the final edits of the book and make a couple minor changes, make sure the table of contents actually has everything, and then we're going to send it off to the guy who's running the program, who's going to make it look like an actual book. We got one of
layout.
We got one of the test pages back. It looks really, really cool.
Nice.
So there's that. We're just about wrapping up with that, and then we're going to start working on preparing the next Kickstarter. We're going to see how far we can take this Eldermancy thing. I've got a decent amount of book ideas ready. It's just a matter of where we go, which one does well.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of like in the same space. It's just like we just need to get the first one done and out. Like we're waiting for the books to land right now, and it's like it's like a month behind because of the world's on fire.
Yeah. Somehow we're still on track. When we started the Kickstarter, it's actually really funny. We had the Kickstarter begin at the start of March.
Yeah.
And it was set to be on track in like early or late November. I don't remember exactly. But the day that the Kickstarter ended was November, or I think March 20th. And that was right when lockdown started in our area.
Yeah.
And when everything started being concrete. So it was an interesting struggle to immediately start writing the book and not be able to go out.
Well, so we were on track up until it came time to get the printers involved.
Yeah.
We ended up having to switch printers because, the one was telling us like at the earliest this date, and I'm like, that sounds more like, or no, at the latest this date. And I'm like, that sounds more like the earliest to me than the latest.
Yeah.
Especially with everything going on, so we had to like find another printer and, and then like, the books were supposed to arrive at fulfillment last week and they're still not there. So we're still waiting. Like, and,
Sounds a lot like my VR kit.
Yeah. There's this one guy that messages us wherever they can every day.
Oh. That's got to be really rough.
Like, what's an ETA? I'm like, well, that's kind of hard to say with all the different factors. We've never done it before. We're still waiting for the thing to show up, that was supposed to show up last week. It's like,
I have the one blessing of the team that is helping me write it, and the team that we started Eldermancy with has experience doing one previous book.
Yeah.
So it's good that they already kind of are familiar with some of the manufacturers. They know a bit of the slip ups to avoid. So we've been really successful with a lot of the stuff like plushies and chibis, which is just crazy to have like conceptualized and like written all together. We had a little trip to LA for like 4 or 7 days or something, and we just hammered out all the ideas. Like we were going to do little cards with all the monstered stat blocks and stuff on them. And now we're like actually looking at the finished pieces of a special edition deck box and like filling out all the actual stats and stuff with the illustrations done. It's crazy to see like going into it not knowing how effective or successful it was going to be, and then stepping away with finished real products that look like something that someone else could have made. It's really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Like we have the proof books. I got them somewhere. I got a stack of them, and
Mhm.
they're physically in hand, which is kind of cool. And they like, so they send them. It's like they sent so many proofs. That was so
Mhm.
nerve wracking. Like having to look
Yeah.
over them and be like, yo, someone asked me, it was like, hey, it's got to feel really good the whole day. I'm like, no, it feels like, what am I missing? What am I going to get wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, we have the special edition, the leather bounds that have taken a while to like. We keep getting pictures of the manufacturers for both that and like the chibis and
Yeah.
the plushies. Plushies are really hard to like hammer down the specifics when you have monsters with like the tongue needs to be like this long or the
Yeah.
fur color needs to be a bit darker. It's a weird process.
Can we
It's
get
very
3 more teeth on this guy?
exactly. Or like, hey, this book only has 3 of the 4 like little corner things that we need. What happened there?
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely a project. It's a process. I figure we'll be way better on the second book.
Absolutely, yeah. And for us, the third.
Yeah. So yeah, well that's the other thing. Like we've like a couple like planned out,
Hmm.
and I mean we were talking about this before we got started. As YouTubers and creative, you always have to be like thinking ahead and
Yeah.
what's next.
Hmm.
Speaking of what's next, you want to talk about Tall Tales a little bit?
Yeah, Tall Tales is a super fun idea that I've been working on for a little while. I have had less experience, obviously, with quarantine. I haven't really been able to play the game very much. Like I've been writing a book. I have to keep all the sponsorship deadlines every month for all the videos, try and hammer them out. So my main focus has been there, just keeping everything on track and just working constantly. So I thought like I kind of want to change my approach to videos. I want to try a different format and I want to work with other creators. So I put together like what I like in playing D&D. Like I don't really like the slow pace of a massive party doing combat, just kind of march around the table, see who's doing what and who's killed what. So it kind of, we did 2 test games. I did one with a group of friends and one with the party that we played with yesterday. We actually finished the recording, and it was so much fun. It's so ridiculous and nonsense. It becomes very whimsical because I, as the DM, kind of take a back seat and let the players conjure up things like little NPCs or enemies and stuff, and just tell stories and backstories. We all make it up on the fly, so no one has anything prepared. I like to write essentially the game, which is just a little paragraph about an hour before we play, and then just go off of that. And it's so much fun.
I mean, there's definitely a market for that form of
Yeah,
entertainment.
it kind of feels like a mix between if on Netflix you saw the special Middleditch and Schwartz, how they just do like live on stage improv for an hour or so.
Have you seen any of the Harmon Quest?
I have not, but I have been interested in that. I just never got the time to do it.
Same, because I know they kind of do something like that.
Because they seem like really a really fun group to play with. I really like a lot of the people on that cast.
And then like Mark Meir does a show with like some like old time comedians.
Hmm.
Uh, Colin, I don't
Kellen
remember.
Mockery?
Yes,
Oh,
is one of the guys who's never played D&D,
that's
but
so
like,
cool.
he comes on and does like characters and stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
the way that it's felt the 3 games that we did, it kind of feels like a mix of like whose line is it anyway, like
yeah,
basic improv and then D&D on top of that. So I think the game that we recorded, we immediately started introducing bullshit like full mechs, like futuristic mechs. 2 of the characters just pulled out cell phones. They were like texting the police and a bunch of funny stuff. It's really
we got to
ridiculous.
text the watch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it sounds like it would be a lot of fun and just like
Yeah.
silliness and a good time. So when is that when are you gonna start dropping those?
I have the 2 pieces because the recording got cut in the middle, and I have to add a little bit of the intro because this is a first episode. It's the first time I've tried recording this, and I've
Yeah.
never been in charge of recording games, so it's going to be a learning curve for me. With the recording, I think I actually ended up a little bit louder than a lot of the players, so a lot of improvements moving forward. But I have that set to render. I just need to record a little intro clip, render it. It should be out by this week.
Yeah.
Ideally, a couple days from now.
How long is that show?
The first episode is an hour and a half, and it's really rapid fire. I love how fast paced the players got to go. They just constantly introduced these new things, and whenever they started to stick on a joke, my only responsibility as a DM is just to say, hey, there's an explosion in another room, and then they have to go there, and the story just marches forward so fast. It was a lot of fun.
I was curious.
I'm trying to keep the show in like under somewhere between an hour and 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I was curious about the length because I was just thinking, like, all right, what does that mean in rendering time?
Oh, probably like 3 to 6 hours.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like that's a day of rendering.
So I do want to get to just live streaming it.
Yeah.
In the near future with other episodes, so we can get a bit more interaction with the community, see people that get to watch it live, because there's just something special about that experience.
Let's face it, you really just don't want to have your computer tied up for the full day doing nothing but rendering.
That is another reason. Yeah, I'm going to be in Google Docs today going through the book while that renders in the background for the rest of today.
Yeah. I don't miss that. We used to like record some of our games and put them up, and they were like 3-hour games.
Hope nothing
4-hour
crashes.
Games. Yeah. You come back and go, cross your fingers when you come back to see. Hopefully, it's either done rendering or still rendering, and not your computer is shut down.
Yes. Yeah. A tiny little power outage. Oh.
Yeah.
There goes another day.
Also with those, it was always fun when one of the players would do or say something they probably shouldn't have done, and you have to go back and find that spot and fix it.
Sometimes in games like that are a bit longer, where people have a bit more of a candid approach, you really just have to have like a notes tab open, just timestamp everything.
Yeah,
says, "Oh no!" And
then in case something slips through, a disclaimer: I'm sorry, some of my friends are a-holes.
Yeah. Sure, a lot of Twitch streamers get that.
Yeah. So Doug has a question. Anyone else, if you have a question, feel free to drop it in the chat. Just put question in front of it so we can pick them out pretty easy. So Doug wants to know, what sorts of videos does Logan enjoy, but they don't get the best results? We were actually talking about this a little bit before we even started.
Yeah, a little bit. The anxiety of when writing a video, intuitively, how well do I think this is going to do? Should I even follow through? I really think the Truth About Animals series that I kind of put in a coffin a while ago was a lot of fun, because I really like just biology, animals in general, which is why I wrote the Codex as my first book. But just to do a bunch of research on a specific animal, find out about all their like biology, physiology, their environment, how they act, and then just parody it. Just make it as stupid as possible.
Just start a TikTok and just do those over there.
That probably would be fun. I don't know how worth your time TikTok is, though. I don't know how the monetization goes there.
I have no idea. I don't even know if there is. Like, so we messed with it a little bit.
Yeah, a group actually reached out to me. They said they were trying to establish D&D community on TikTok.
There is one. That's they seem to be thriving over there.
That's cool. That's really cool.
It's kind of cool. Like, there's a bunch of people doing stuff. At first I was just cutting up bits from our video and just throwing them up. But it's so hard. I mean, like, there's YouTube, there's Facebook, there's there's so many different platforms. It's impossible to do them all.
And all of them have such completely different audiences and viewer bases and stuff. So the reception from one community and one platform could be completely different from another.
Yeah. So I'm looking at your animal series, and still you got a bunch of videos that are over 100K.
I've got a few. They are old, though.
Yeah. So people are watching them. I mean, well, here's one where it was terrible. I mean, 64.
Which one was that?
Elephants.
And the reason
and yes,
that
I am
one has
absolutely mocking you, because most of our videos don't reach that number.
Yeah, I got you. It's funny. I think the reason that one has fewer views is actually because it got copyrighted by I think BBC, because that was their elephant footage that I used.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's also another problem, is just getting enough actual footage of kind of to fill in the visual blanks.
Yeah, like I always wonder about that with like channels that use a lot of like images and stuff. And I go, I cringe a little bit because it's like I would hate for them to put all the work in, and then people come along and be like, "Hey, that's my thing," and
Yeah, a lot of intuition comes with like image searching because you got to see like, does this have a copyright? Is it by a large company or is it by a specific artist?
I want to
So
say like large companies sometimes are easier to get away with than
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like
yeah.
all the Magic the Gathering art. I love all the artists that do that, and a
Yeah.
lot of the pieces are just really incredible. And it's nice to be able to kind of use those without Wizards of the Coast breaking down the door with a big stick in their hands.
Yeah. Although,
I hope that day never comes.
Wizards of the Coast actually like well, Magic is different, but for like the D&D stuff, they have a creator thing where if you look at it, I think we actually fall under that for a lot of that stuff.
I'm not familiar with anything other than the SRD.
Yeah, well, there's the SRD, and then they also have like a kit for people that are like blogging, YouTubing, and stuff like that. It's on the site someplace. I haven't looked at it in a long
Because
time.
a lot of it is just kind of unintentional and non-direct free marketing for them.
Yes.
Because if I get a few comments on my videos being like, I like this just for the jokes. I don't even play the game. It's like eventually those people are probably going to come around and maybe grab a player's handbook or something.
Insidiously worm our way into their
Yeah.
brains. That is always like funny and the weirdest thing. It's like I've even seen like a step further than that. It's like I buy all the books and I watch all these videos, but I never play the game. I'm like,
Yeah, that's kind of where I fell into. I make all these videos and I buy all the books, but I don't remember how the game is played. So it's nice to be able to kind of reintroduce that in a new way with Tall Tales. It's been very fun.
oh yeah, Jancy says media assets. I think,
Oh.
but I think that's right too. Like I remember seeing that. Because before I was thinking like for some of the stuff we do, I was like, are we gonna get in trouble? And then I saw that, I'm like, might be covered under that. And I've had conversations with staff over there, and they're like,
Oh, you have?
and they're kind of like, we're aware. Like they give me this like really canned formal thing, but
Yeah, for
like I
sure.
get the impression it's like they're like, okay. I mean, as long as
Okay
you're
for
not
now.
yeah. The main thing is they just want to make sure you're not like misrepresenting their
Yeah.
brand and.
They don't want anyone controversial messing with their stuff, I'm sure. Any company wouldn't want that.
No.
Someone making any bigoted statement alongside the things or agreeing with a misinterpretation of the monsters. It's like, ew.
Yeah, I mean,
So we try and stay pretty respectful.
essentially
about that,
keep it clean, right? Is
Exactly,
It boils
exactly.
down to. I mean, and that's the
make sure the only butt of the joke is ever you.
Yeah.
You're the only person who's allowed to be made fun of.
So Rocco wants to know. So which alignment does Runesmith enjoy playing the most? Evil, good, neutral, etc.
I think chaotic neutral is such a cliche, but it's just the most freeing because you remove the responsibilities of being a person from your character and they can do whatever.
God, I hate you so much, and that alignment.
Yeah, exactly.
You know why?
It's the laziest alignment for sure.
It's the alignment that I'm like, every player that chooses that alignment, almost always, they just want to be an a-hole.
Yeah,
And not
that's
be
so
like,
true.
and not be like own up to anything, and are like, well, it's my alignment.
Yeah. Well, I really don't like paying attention to alignment when you play.
Yeah.
It's about your character. They're a lot more complex than their moral compass. I think they have a lot of things that they maybe don't agree with about themselves. So usually I don't stick to the alignment perspective, but I think chaotic good is really fun. I know a lot of lawful characters are very fun if you can kind of get in that headspace. Just remove yourself and be like, look, this guy believes these things that I don't believe, but it's fun to pretend to, because that's what the game is.
I actually enjoy the lawful alignments as well. And also, I just think about it not necessarily as like legality and the letter of the law, but like order, right? And the cosmic force of order.
I really
well.
like the lawful neutral rogues.
Yeah.
Who like have their own set of creeds and stuff, and they only believe in what they think to be true, whether or not it's actually accurate, but they like follow those laws to a T. Because it's fun to like play the turmoil of when they accidentally break one of their own rules, or they're like forced with these moral dilemmas that no one else would have,
Yeah.
like the Pirates Code and stuff.
More like a set of guidelines. So River wants to know, what edition did you start with? What's your favorite edition?
3.5 is what I started with. It was actually me and Jacob. I think we played our first game together with a friend, and we had a lot of fun. Like, I think we looked up, like, what alignment would I be? Because that's what everyone does, and that's probably why Jacob's most popular video is super popular. It's like, what class should I play, and what, like, alignment or whatever. So I think I went with a ranger for our first game. We just hunted some vampires, a classic little game. And then we jumped straight into 5th edition. We didn't really visit Pathfinder too much. We played Starfinder for a little while. City of Mist is my favorite RPG currently. But I think 5e out of all the editions is the most fun, because once you look at the books, is kind of objective. And you think, like, these are guidelines for the rules. We don't have to follow everything. And because 5th edition is so, like, a lot of the general rules that were in 3.5 are just kind of grouped together into one statement. So you can just kind of warp that statement, and then the game changes rapidly. It's the most fun to play around with, I think.
I agree. I like the fact that it's not as stringent as third was.
Yeah.
Where it's like there was a rule for everything, which just
exactly
makes the game kind of terrible.
I remember
in some
there
ways.
was a specific event actually when I was DMing a game where Jacob tried to, like, jump into the air and bring his axe down on the skull of this giant minotaur skeleton, and I'm like, all right, you need an acrobatics check, an athletics check, and an attack roll, and it's like there's no way he would have been able to do something cool just within the confines of that game.
Yeah, it's free. The rules light aspects are kind of freeing, and like you said, it's taken some of those concepts from 3.5 and just, like, grouped them together, and made them more interesting choices. Where it's like your Pathfinders and your 3.5s were all about microtransactions, and it feels like 5e is a little bit more modular and more like macro choices that, like, kind of affect your character more.
And I guess that is a benefit of the older editions, is you can really, like, specify what your character's about and, like, what they're good at and what they clearly aren't. And then 5th edition is just kind of like, we've got, like, 12 skills instead of 45.
Or, like, I don't know if you, like, ever went through, like, the epic level handbook. And it's like,
I did leaf through it, yeah.
At 85 to swim up a waterfall, or 120 to escape artists to slip through a wall of force. There's just, like, ridiculousness.
Like, why do we need these? Why can't we just
Why
make
is
it up?
this a thing?
Yeah.
At that point, you're just playing, like, gods and demigods. So City of Mist, it's on my radar to check out. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. So what do you like about that game?
It's very freeing. It's another one of those games where the dungeon master does kind of take, or the game master takes a bit of a back seat to the game, and they kind of set the scene, and then all the players have kind of authority over what they do. And a lot of it is about character progression and how the character changes throughout the story. So you basically have, like, 4 parts to your character sheet, like however magical you are, or however mundane you are. And as the game goes, if certain actions that you take, you can literally lose parts of those or have to swap them out. So you can become more magical if you neglect, like, who you are. You can become more mundane if you understand more about, like, if you remove yourself from the powers that you have. It's a very adaptive game, and everyone kind of gets to narrate what they do. So that's really fun.
So in that game, right, you have, like, a normal life and like almost like I don't want to say like a hero life.
It kind of is. It's so you have your logos, which is just your mundane life, like your job, any kids that you have, any responsibilities that you have, and then your mythos, which the City of Mist is like, the mist is the core of the game. The mist around the city is what gives you these magic powers. It's like a curtain that brings in these. So your mythos can be like a superhero or a D&D character or a literal dragon, and then you just get, like, figments of that power that you can play with.
So is that a game you've played as a player or as a GM? Do you have a preference?
I've only played as a player. I played as a GM actually in the final episode of Tesseract on Arcane Arcade. That was really fun. But playing as a player, I played this old politician who was like the mayor of a city, and he had the powers of Odin, so he could, like, write runes and see through scrying pools and stuff. and he lost himself. I think he lost his job, and he became this avatar of Odin that was trying to fight like some guy who had the powers of Cthulhu or something. It was really fun.
Nice. So, where do you draw inspiration from?
I guess everything. That is a tough question. I try not to really hone in on anything specific. I try to kind of pull myself back and look at the abstracts of a lot of fiction and see why these characters are taking these actions, or how these powers work and how I can change them. So really just taking a little bit from all the fiction that I watch and then kind of boiling it down and pulling out the elements and trying to improve on them or adapt them.
Have you ever, gotten inspiration from any like truly weird spot and like it just kind of was sparked for you? Like, I'm not a motorhead and I'm not even into cars, but I used to listen to this NPR show called Car Talk. Right, it's just these two brothers would talk about cars and people would call in, and they were talking about going to the junkyard, and they're just like, look out for those junkyard harpies. And I'm like, why is that not a thing in D&D?
That's a cool idea. Yeah. I mean, Top Gear used to be fun to watch, the old show, a couple of British guys.
Yeah.
I think one abstract thing in that same vein, when I was working as kind of a hydraulic salesman or inventory keeper, did a lot of stuff at a hydraulic shop. My dad had this layout for like a pump system that had all these tubes and these drawing a blank on them, but like the cords that connected the high pressure oil to other things. And it looked like a grid map for a dungeon. So I scanned and printed a copy, and I made a dungeon just based on that layout of like these motors that turned into rooms and stuff. To be a bit more based in fiction, there's a book called Beyonders, or The Beyonders, that has it's one of those classic stories where someone from a normal life falls into a fictional world. It's young adult novel, the kind of the cliche, but the world that the author created is so cool, and he has all these unique races, like a race of people who have seeds on the back of their necks, and they can be reborn. Like they constantly, if you kill them and don't destroy their seed, they get replanted and are born in like 6 months or something. And they're just like master fighters. They're essentially the elves of the world. And if you destroy a seed, it's like the most taboo war crime against their people. It's really cool.
Yeah, I guess. Of course, the seed people would say that was a taboo war crime.
Exactly. Because that's what they want you to believe. That's how they keep their numbers.
So Doug wants to know, with your background, when can we expect the hydraulic press D&D channel? What does that even look like?
I didn't really deal with a specific hydraulic press, but I did work hoses. God damn it, they're called hoses. So I worked. I made a lot of the hoses, like making those to the specific sizes and stuff. They had these little like nodes at the end, the screws and stuff, and there was a crimper that was like a hydraulic press that would press down, but it had a little circle in the middle, so it would just push everything in, and it would crimp these ends onto the hose. And that thing sucked, and it broke a lot. It was really hard to work.
Well, as the person that had to work with the broken hoses and go to that place and get them fixed often, that also sucked. So,
yeah, I would imagine.
It just sucked. The whole process sucks from beginning to end.
It really does.
So Doug says just crush stuff with the hydraulic press. Books, dice, minis, terrain.
Yeah, minis.
You have to see what we have to put Dwarven Forge to the real test.
Yeah, does a dragon stand up to a hydraulic press?
Turns out no. Dwarven Knight, that's what I want to test and see if we can't smash that.
Get some actual metal ones.
Yeah.
Some of the like larger metal dice, like $60 ones. Be fun to crush.
Got some of those laying around. Why not? Yeah, Doug wants to know if Nerdarchy, if we can afford the hydraulic press in the budget. I don't think we got a couple grand laying around for that. A good one's probably like 10 grand at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, or although we could probably rent a steamroller. We could probably rent a roller and we could roll things.
You might have. Be hard to set up a good camera angle for that. Yeah, those things are expensive. Anywhere from like $1,000 to $5,000.
Ah, piece of cake. But so because I used to work in heavy construction anyway, so it'll be like marrying the two things. Although, it will definitely not
Yeah.
be the two things I love because I do not miss construction at all.
No. Yeah, we would have people just with like from the electric company, they would have people come in, they need hoses and oil changes done on their cars, and we're like, we're here for the farmers, but sure.
That's so bizarre.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Who sees that and goes like, "Here's a tractor company," and they're like pulling up with their car, and been like, "You know what? Can you change my oil?" And even more bizarre is you guys were like, "I guess."
Well, because they have like the booms, the things that like lift stuff up, so
Yeah.
people can get up at the wires and change stuff. So they have like hydraulic pistons and some motors and stuff that they have to function there. It goes anywhere from people who fix what are those? I'm drawing a blank there too. What are the T's called that hold up the wires, like phone lines? It's telephone poles.
Oh, telephone pole.
Yeah.
I know it's early over there on the West
Yeah.
Coast, so maybe you need to get more coffee in you.
Yeah, it goes anywhere from people working on telephone poles to people mass manufacturing onion powder. Like, it's ridiculous, the array of people that work and go in there that need shit done.
So do you miss that life?
Absolutely not. No, I don't miss any of the people.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, the people in those fields are definitely special. It's a different type of person.
It's a very angry community.
It is very angry. Did you? But you worked for your dad. Was your dad an angry person to work for? With being your dad, did it make it better or worse? Because I've seen it where like where the children of like have it on Easy Street, but I've seen it also where they are treated the worst. So
It's probably about a middle ground. Yeah. I was mostly treated like an even employee by a lot of the people there. And my dad was like running around trying to save face with all the companies that he works with, because it's a smaller shop, but it's the best shop in the area. So they have so many clients. And I was just there taking phone calls and making hoses and stuff all day. So I worked next to this piece of garbage guy. I did not enjoy working with that guy. And my dad was like sitting in the back on his own computer dealing with a bunch of other stuff. So I really didn't get coddled. I was the guy cleaning the toilets and stuff. Yeah.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
I remember we had this one job, and like the son would get paid less than everyone.
Yes, I definitely got paid less than everyone.
Would have to like listen to everyone, and but he also knew more than anyone too. At the same time,
I was still learning. I didn't know a whole lot, and I think that's kind of why I got under the boot. But it made sense. I guess I learned a lot.
It's good. Like I think everyone should go through a little bit of that in their life.
Yeah,
to kind of like help them appreciate what comes next.
Yeah, you need a lot of experience in every field. You need to know what it's like to be in a gutter, and you need to know what it's like to be in a dining hall maybe once. Kind of find the middle ground there.
Yeah. So, what's the next video coming out?
I actually just finished editing one, and then I jumped straight on Tall Tales. So I'm probably going to release the first episode on my channel as well as the Tall Tales channel. And then after that, I think the main thing that I have to work on is actually the stretch goal videos from Stibbles. So talking about my 5 favorite companions, my other 5 favorite companions, how taming and training works, and something else. I think some of my favorite spells from the book. So that'll be first thing next month.
I know also for anyone who's new over here or doesn't know, there are descriptions, or in the description there's links so you can check that stuff out, check out Stibbles. What is your favorite companion from Stibbles?
The first one that comes to mind, mainly just because of the illustration and a bit of its abilities, there's this... so one of the things that I did when making the Celestial group for the companions is I ran through all the outer planes and looked at the alignments, and I wanted to make like one Celestial companion for each plane or each alignment. And I think Celestia, or one of the heavily like righteous and paladin like upper planes, I made a pangolin, just like the little armored guys. And I worked on the concept for a while. We just took away the in, so it's called a pangol.
Yeah.
And it has this massive tail. There's 2 types of pangolins. It's like the classic and then the long tail pangolin. So this thing basically uses its tail as a shield to run around the inner and outer planes and just defend anything that is defenseless from other fiends or otherworldly creatures. So it like does this thing where it runs in, it protects the creatures with its massive tail that's just this huge wall shield, and then it will ball up and become invulnerable. Well, the creature gets away as this thing is just wailing on a little ball that can't be damaged. The only downside is that it takes a full action to unfurl. So they either have to wait a long time or they're doomed if that thing sticks around. But it's a very fun companion to play with and have in the party for a while.
Are we, can we expect to get basically a pangolin video? Or an amazing truth about the pangolin?
Pangolins are really interesting. I would like to do that. Maybe same thing as like the tardigrades video, dude, for around April Fools or something.
They're like the mega or mecha armadillo.
They really are. They're the evolved version of an armadillo.
If you put an armadillo on steroids, that is what you get.
Mm-hmm. I actually have an armadillo, which is a little armadillo companion that adds itself to your suit of armor and gives you a little AC bonus.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So Pullout King, the finest name is Sleeper Sofas. Their favorite is the animated headwear. What is the animated headwear?
So the illustration is just of like a classic feathered, like a hat with a big feather in it. And it can take any form of like anywhere from a tiki mask to a bandana. And what they do is they don't have a speaking, like they can't speak, they don't have a language. But when they put themselves on the head of a creature, they gain that creature's native language. So they can like telepathically speak through that person as if they could speak themselves.
So they're like ventriloquist head mimics?
A little bit, yeah. Like they land on you and then they start spouting out your secrets. Or I think a lot of them are like the classic idea of a wizard's hat that can talk, like in Harry Potter, that touring hat, whatever it was called. Just to have like a wizard that has one for so long that it can recite the incantations that the wizard knew and just cast these massive spells as a construct.
Nice. So what was your inspiration for Stibbles?
The Travelocity gnome.
Nice.
The character himself, yeah.
Have you ever gone gnoming?
No, I have not, but I know a lot about gnoming, and I know how like it was actually a genuine problem. I think there was like a gnome apocalypse or something where a bunch of people just messed with everyone's gnomes. It's a weird mark in our history, just stealing gnomes.
It is weird. I think I remember my youngest brother telling me about it sometime. Beware the gnomers.
Yeah.
So the Travelocity gnome, huh? Well, I guess that would also go back to the earlier question of weird places for inspiration.
I guess that's fair, yeah. I had another character who was based on this idea of a monk who would just end fights by stealing everyone's weapons and breaking them. So everyone's just unarmed.
Until he faces another monk.
Oh, no. Ironically, he actually had both of his arms broken. So he was also unarmed.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Is that how he closes the circle? He breaks his own arms after stealing all the weapons and breaking them.
Someone else broke them and taught him a valuable lesson.
It's not nice to break other people's stuff.
The Travelocity gnome concept was like, what if I had a gnome who just had like a horrible, tragic past that he just left his life behind, never looked back, always moved forward. So the first rendition of him, I had just this huge backpack on him, just with everything a traveler would ever need. It was very like a tool-based character, and now he's a bit more focused on druid in the game that we play with him.
So, are you kind of like one of those pet players?
Yeah, I am. I really like playing characters like necromancers or wizards, just with as many extra characters that I can get in the battlefield, which is kind of why combat's tough for me. Because I like having like 50 things in a video game that are just flying around, buzzing around, marching on the ground, killing all my enemies for me as I stand there. But with D&D, that just means I have to roll more initiative. So
yeah, and then there's
a fine line.
depending on your GM, he starts murdering your things, and
Yes.
then you have to acquire new ones. If you're a
Mhm.
necromancer, at least you can just animate some more. But
That's kind of the tragedy I'm doing in Evenfall. So far, Stibbles has lost two of his companions. He had a koala and then a giant rat.
oh my god,
And
a koala! Wait, what dastardly DM kills a koala?
uh, that is a secret kept behind the screen of how the koala died. He vanished in the Shadowfell, and we never found him.
Oh no, that's terrible.
Yeah.
That DM deserves hate mail for killing a koala.
It's funny because the koala's only ability is, I think, useless.
uh,
Because if you look up like koalas and stuff, their physiology, they're basically like cicadas, or I don't know how to say that word. They're kind of like insects. All they do is
Yeah.
cling to trees and not move. So,
and eat.
yeah, after a koala makes an attack, it immediately suffers a level of exhaustion.
They look cute and cuddly, but they're not cuddly at all because my understanding is their fur is like a wire, more like a wire brush
Yeah, they're
than
kind of
fur.
uncomfortable. They're pretty gross.
And they're also kind of mean. So
Yeah, they're a bit territorial, but they really like that whole reputation that they have about like going crazy and ripping faces off. That never actually happens. Like once in a lifetime, if you really mess with one, it might go all out and then die of exhaustion.
maybe it's the drop bears.
Probably.
Because I'm always like crushing my wife's hopes and dreams because she's like, oh, I want one of these. They're so cute and adorable. And I'm like, hey, Google,
Yeah.
does X make a good pet? And pretty much none of them ever make a good pet. I did find bats make good pets, but you're going
Rarely.
to shorten. You're going to
'Cause-
shorten their life expand, but they're actually decent pets. But you're going to murder them. With
A
your
lot
love.
of them actually do pee in their fur as like a defense mechanism.
Oh no!
So
Unless
they
you're into that.
it's the same thing as like bats and sloths is naturally part of their defense is just a massive level of bacteria and diseases coating their skin. So you gotta shower them constantly, and then that's probably what attributes to that.
Have you seen those Filipino bats that they have, where they're like 5 foot tall?
Oh, the flying foxes, yeah. These things are huge. They
Yeah.
look like dogs.
That's crazy. Like they could look like they could carry away a small child.
Yeah, they really thank God they don't.
So does your love of pets extend into the real world?
Yeah, I've actually got a fish tank behind me that's got a decent amount of little critters there. I used to have, when I was growing up, we had a small farm in the back with like a chicken coop. I think I had a rooster for a little while. We had a friend's goat there for about a year. And then I've got two cats. One is 6, and he gets that name from the fact that he's a polydactyl.
Yeah.
So he has 6 digits on each of his paws. And
All
and
four?
Yeah, all 4 actually.
Oh wow! Yeah, we got a polydactyl too. He's got 7 but only on the front.
Wow.
So it looks
That's
like he's
interesting.
wearing mittens.
Yeah. When we first looked at him, it's like, did he get a bee sting on his paw? It's just this big
Yeah.
little mitt, and he can actually kind of use it as opposable. At one point, he was playing with a pen, and he picked it up with both hands and like dragged it across a piece of paper and made a little mark. We were like, "Whoa, he's
It's
writing.
art. You
He's
should have
writing."
sold it.
Yeah. So the 2 cats in the fish tank for now. My girlfriend's got a lot of plants in here, but I think once we move and get a bit more established, I'd like to expand that.
When I was a kid, we had another polydactyl named Tyson because he also had the 7 in the front, and so it looked like he was wearing boxing gloves. But it was funny, like he could open stuff and pick stuff up. My cat doesn't do any of that stuff, but like this one would like pick up like you ever see those big black crickets?
Yeah, like just generally kind of like cockroaches, a bit bigger.
Yeah, but they're crickets. And I seen him one day. He like had it in his paw, and he was like holding it, just like gnawing on its head. I'm like, what are you doing?
It's terrifying.
Yeah,
They're
cats,
adapted.
cats in general are terrifying, and thankfully they're little. We have a new puppy, so it's like right now it's just mass chaos, and she wants the cats to play with her so bad, and they're just not having it.
A lot of personality conflicts in those.
Yeah, there is. Like last night, she was insane. She's like parkouring off the furniture. She pulls out like every trick she knows to try and get them to love her, and it's just not working. You know, show the belly, tilt the head. Nothing works. They're immune. Uh, so when I totally lost my train of thought. Sorry.
It's all right.
But what game do you want to run next? What kind of campaign are you looking to do once things are? Oh, you say you're normally a player though, right?
What do you mean?
You say you're normally a player.
Usually, I think that's just kind of in the Arcane Arcade group.
Yeah.
Jacob kind of takes the Dungeon Master seat. But really, with Tall Tales, I'm really enjoying. All of them are just one shots.
Yeah.
So it's a contained story with contained characters that goes for a small amount of time and gets resolved by the end. I think I really enjoy that type of format because it kind of feels like a short movie or maybe a pilot to a TV show episode. Just constantly doing that, I think, is going to be a lot of fun. So I still have my Paracosm, the world that I made for Tesseract, and it's like my brainchild. It's just a little place that I can kind of go to and keep developing whenever I get bored or burnt out.
So when's the next campaign in there? Do you have any plans?
I don't have any plans for that. It's really about finding the right group that I want to share that with, that I think they can enjoy just as much as I do. And if I ever find that, then I might revive it. If not, Tall Tales is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and sometimes it's hard just fitting everything in. As creators, you're running YouTube, you're running a YouTube channel now, the second one with Tall Tales, and also writing content.
Yeah, we're going to be
piling up,
making more books down the line, so it's just going to get busier and busier.
Yeah. So, do you have and this is something we kind of talk about internally. Do you have a plan for what's next? If Wizards of the Coast shifts to 6e.
Oh. I haven't really considered that too much because I try not to be very mechanical with my videos and stuff. So I try to kind of transcend the additions and stuff and just talk about monster lore. Or
I meant more for products and stuff like that because you guys have gone down that road.
Yeah. Eldermancy is prepared to shift in whatever direction we need to. So if something happens and Dungeons and Dragons manages to fall through due to PR, either we'll try and maybe pick up the mantle if we're established at that point. That sounds very pretentious, but it's like a pipe dream. It's one of those things where maybe if D&D takes a bad turn and no one really wants the IP, we'll try and set it back on track. But in any direction from making video games and stuff would be really fun to. I have 3 ideas for sets of card games. One of them is called Scenario. And it's just you draw 3 cards. It's like a tiny, tiny, tiny compact set of D&D games that you play within 10 minutes of each other. So one would be what would you do or how would you respond if a character showed up in location and caused event, and then the person who drew the cards has to present it to another player, and it's just a back and forth until it gets resolved. So that's something to work on.
Are you a big fan of tabletop games?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I understand how difficult it is to organize and that you need the right roommates and stuff for that. But I think a lot of people really enjoy them, and it brings your friend group closer together, and you kind of understand each other's senses of humor. So just to provide any sort of platform that cultivates that, I think is going to be really fun and kind of what we want to focus on.
Yeah, Ted used to run would have a monthly game night and invite a bunch of people over, and there'd be 3-4 different rooms with just games going on all over the place. Then kids happened, and kids wreck your life.
We did that a while ago with our little church group a few years back, where we would just have a night where everyone just brings card games and stuff, set it up at different tables, people can play whatever. Munchkin used to be really fun.
Yeah, Munchkin used to be our Christmas tradition.
That's cool.
Christmas Day, so it'd be me, my brother, Ted, my son, and whoever else might be there, and we play a lot of Munchkin. Although Dungeon Mayhem seems to have replaced it.
That's not on my radar.
So Dungeon Mayhem is kind of loosely based off of D&D, and it's all PvP. Well, you know what? Munchkin was that way anyway.
Munchkin was very PvP.
But indirectly, this is more direct, and it's just it's faster and more fun. I think the thing with Munchkin is it's especially if you have a bunch of people playing, like you get towards the end and then the game just like takes forever to end.
Yeah, because everyone's trying to stop that one guy to win. They use
Yeah.
all their cards, and then he's like down in the dirt or he's out of the game, and then everyone has to pick back up to figure out who's gonna win. It's an interesting little resolution that they have.
It's always mentioning, yeah, they thought, for some reason, I used to think Ted was your brother. I was devastated and found out he wasn't. Ted is well, he's my brother-in-law. Like,
Not
we're
by
all
blood.
family.
Yeah.
And Ryan was, he is my brother, and he used to do Nerdarchy with us. So we're
I
all
think
kind of related.
anyone that you're close enough to and that you trust with like the bulk of what you do or what you tell them is family.
Yeah, Kamo, but he is a brother-in-law, so maybe better because brother by choice. Although it's more like I chose his sister than him, but it's been good. I mean, we've been able to build a good relationship over that, and a friendship that's lasted 20 plus years based off of this hobby. I mean, that's the cool thing about doing this stuff is like these lifelong friends you meet doing it.
It's really cool.
So when can we expect to see some card games out of you?
I think we kind of want to establish that we make books first, and then we'll start doing some minor releases. We're going down the line, and one of the team members is more aware of kind of how business is conducted generally. So we think that the first direction we should go into is to get a bit of a reputation with D&D supplements, and then kind of try and set out on our own little concepts.
And it's always good to have someone who's grounded in business.
Absolutely.
Instead
I've been very lucky.
A bunch of people fumbling around, which is happens often.
Yeah, because rarely are business people ever interested in smaller hobbies like this. So you have to go to like a consultant, and then they're apathetic, and they're not going to be worth the time that they spend with you. They're like, just do whatever.
And they don't. Yeah, and they don't understand. They don't.
Yeah.
They're finding the two and marrying them together is.
It's such a niche business. It's a weird little platform we have.
But hey, I mean, we're as creators, we're finding room to eke out, and it keeps growing too. Like when we first started, we didn't like the unsurmountable number was 100,000 subscribers, and you're about to hit 3.
Yeah,
so that's kind of crazy.
It's something that I really try just to not think about.
Yeah,
because I think for a lot of people my size, it's very easy to get like an ego about all the people who respect your opinion because then my opinion's the right one. But no, you gotta keep improving and kind of, because there's no ceiling to anything. No one's ever perfectly right about anything, or anyone's doing it exactly the way it should be done. So you just got to keep moving forward, and the numbers really do I think it's all luck based, who sees you and to what extent they see you, and then after that it's about your reputation and kind of how long you can stay respectable.
I don't know. I mean, I think you're selling yourself short there. Like,
I probably am.
You got a lot of personality. You put out really good content. You're where you are because you've earned it.
So. I think kind of my focus is just to keep moving forward and not really reflect on what I've accomplished. Just accept and appreciate that I've been able to do this and keep trying to do right by the community.
Which, I mean, and it's super cool, that you're also humble about it. So how long before you think you hit 300?
I did lull for a bit there with some of the content. I hit a bit of a burnout point, and with the book kind of caught up to me. But right now I'm wrapping up a lot of sponsorships for this year, and next year they're going to be open just to do whatever I want with them at the time being instead of signing some contracts. So hopefully I'll have a lot more like personality-based content. I'll be able to approach the channel in a new way starting next year and kind of through this year. So I think I'll probably hit 300 maybe late January as an estimate. I'm not a numbers guy, so that's just a guess. But we'll see. Maybe I have a video that does really well and gives me a bit of a RNG boost.
I think you're going to hit it before the end of the year.
Okay.
You've been growing fairly quick, so.
Yeah, I think. I wonder where I'm still at, because for a while there, my number was like plus 8K every 28 days, which is a good place to be. I think I've slowed down a bit though. Yeah, I'm at 7.2, So we'll pick back up.
We have done like 1,800 from the very beginning, like almost, and it's never changed. It's
Well, that's
always-
actually a good thing, though. If it's a
Maybe.
static improvement,
It's
it's better than just to have a drop-off point or some negative at some point.
I mean, it's gone up and down, but like when you average out like our monthly for the past like 6 years, it's almost like consistent, like the same number. So it's pretty cool. So we're at the hour mark. It's time to wrap things up. Final words before we head on out.
I don't really have a whole lot. Thank you for having me on, reaching out. I'm glad we could actually set a time up to do this.
Yeah,
Sure, we're both pretty busy these days.
I'm glad to have you on, and it'll be great when we can actually meet in person again someday.
Yeah.
And hang out and have a beer.
Finally get Nerdarchy the convention on the way.
Ugh, yeah.
That's gotta be. I feel so bad.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a kick in the nuts. We couldn't really predict that one.
Nope.
So, on that note, until next time, everyone, stay nerdy.